So, guys, I think I'll slowly start. Yeah, Lavinia, you're already with us, so yeah, we definitely can start. Hello, everyone, again. I'm really happy to be with you here today, and today we'll have another, I hope, another useful and exciting stream in our community. As always, I'll be the host today, and I'll also moderate all the questions you have. So, as I said before, feel free to ask everything in the chat of our community. I'll read the questions at the end, probably. We will dedicate some time to answering all of them. And today we have a really, I would say, really special session with a guest. I'm really thrilled to introduce her today. It's Lavinia Osborne. She's the founder of Women in Blockchain Talks. Thank you so much, Lavinia, for joining us today, for being with us, and for being ready to share your knowledge, your experience. We really appreciate it. Maybe you have a few words to start this conversation.
Sure. Well, first of all, it's wonderful to be here on this live stream. First of all, I love when technology works. Thank you so much for the invitation. I do appreciate it. And it's made even more special because I do have a relationship with being crypto and now working crypto. And it's also our 5th year anniversary of Women in Blockchain Talk. So we've been going strong for 5 years. So this is a really nice way to celebrate it with your community.
Oh, that sounds really cool. Actually, we recently also celebrated 6 years of being crypto, so we are, say, almost the same year birth with you. It's really cool. Okay, so let's also talk about our today's topic. Today we're gonna speak about community in Web3 and networking. Why it is so important and necessary. I think you probably remember from all of the posts and streams that we already had in the community that networking and people, human resources is a crucial thing in Web3 space. And it's definitely the resource that can help you to boost your chances to get a dream job, to get a good position, and to get promoted, etc., etc. So we will talk today about the importance of networking, about communities in Web3, how to build them, how to grow them. And I hope after today's session, everyone will have some new like knowledge and skills in this sphere. So let's start. Lavinia, I propose to start with a few like general questions. And the first one will be about your background. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did your journey in Web3 started, and why you're here, why you have the community?
Sure. Well, first of all, community is so important. You need it in whatever industry that you're in, and being able to have the confidence to network also develops your leadership skills. And so these conversations are very important. And this is my life day in and day out. I'm actually in Amsterdam at the moment. I live in London, but I'm in Amsterdam at the moment speaking at the Women Leadership Summit. And I'm giving the final, well, I'm on a panel, I'm also doing a keynote. And so one of the things I just want to say, just touching on what you've just said, is that, what is key about community and network, it adds to your leadership skills and your ability to put yourself out there. Personal branding or even professional branding is so key in this day and age, more so than it has ever been, because we're now competing with technology. So what makes you stand out from the crowd? And this is the reason why joining a community that can support you, but also networking and honing your networking skills adds to your leadership skills and also to your presentation and personal branding skills. And this is the reason why it's important to not just listen, but to, take the time to be part of a community, to put your hand up and to lead in the community, even if it's in a small way. Your level of leadership could be very, very different from my level of leadership. And my, ultimately, when I think about leadership, I think about servant leadership, because I'm here to serve other people. That's where my leadership, that's where I come from. It's not from the ego of, look at me, I'm so important. No, it's not about that. It's about, how can I help other people to be the best version of themselves? And so that leads me to my background. I got into this entrepreneurial space, or just entrepreneurship, simply because I found that I was limited on my progress working as an employee. I think, if I'm honest with you, I've always had entrepreneurial skills, but if you've not seen entrepreneurs around you, or there's no one around you to help you develop those skills, then it will take a while for you to get to the point to understand those elements about yourself. And so it was 2008, I'm showing my age now, 2008, and I was made redundant. And then when I was looking for a job, I flew to Dubai to look for a job, but it was a global recession. The financial markets had crashed. It was just horrific. It was an horrific time. And so all the jobs were saying that I was overqualified. And so I went down the entrepreneurial route, but it wasn't just entrepreneurial route I went down. It was financial education, financial well-being. And this is something that isn't taught to most of us at school. And because of that, most of us will just work for money rather than making our money work for us. And so I went down that route, but I didn't have any confidence to call myself an entrepreneur. I felt like I was an imposter. And so one of the things that I'm so grateful for on this journey is the level of confidence I've been able to draw from just simply continuously putting myself out there. It's not easy to start, but you have to start from somewhere, right? And you're going to have to push through your feelings of inferiority. And inferiority comes from inexperience. But how do you get experience if you don't start, right? So off the back of that, I started my business. It was called Butterfly Wealth Creation, and Butterfly Wealth Creation was a financial well-being. So I didn't give financial advice. I just talked about, what is your relationship with money? What do you say, think, and feel about it? Because all of those things will have an impact on how you attract money, how you keep money, how you maintain money, how you manage your money. And then obviously, if you're talking about money to clients, you're talking on the past, you're going to touch on the past, you're going to touch on the present, but you also have to have insight. And that insight means that you have to look at the future of money. How is it developing? So at that time, I started to learn about blockchain. Well, not even blockchain, it was crypto, Bitcoin. I kept hearing about Bitcoin. So this is what, 2016 now. And I thought Bitcoin and blockchain were the same. And then I came to realize, of course, that blockchain is the technology that underpins Bitcoin and crypto technology. Without blockchain, there can't be any crypto, unless it's maybe a stable coin, right? But even so, you still need blockchain technology, decentralized technology, or a DLT, distributed ledger technology, which of course blockchain falls under. And so once I started learning about blockchain, my mind was like, whoa, this could be a real changer in the way that we deal with social impact, blockchain for good, in the sense of financial equality. Money it's not, some people say it's the root to all evil, but it's not the root to all evil, but it's very significant in our lives, right? And if we're not paid fairly, we feel frustrated, we feel worthless. There's so much impact around money. And I think what blockchain has done, and what it can do and has the power to do, is it has the power to basically create more fairness, more transparency, and that transparency leads to more fairness in the way that wealth is spread, the equality of wealth, and also allows more people, because there isn't so much of a gatekeeper, to also generate wealth. And so just to wrap this up, I started Women in Blockchain Talk. So first of all, I was working in blockchain. I was working for a company that was focused on SSI, which is self-sovereign identity. But of course, it was all crypto blockchain related. And so that's how I started to learn. And what I found, there wasn't enough women in the space. And I think it's very important to say that Women in Blockchain Talks is focuses on women, amplifies women, spotlight women, but we're open to all genders, because I'm of Jamaican, Caribbean roots, and there's a saying in the Caribbean: one hand cannot clap. Try and clap with one hand, it can't work. So we all have to work together in order to create diversity and equality in the space.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your background. I really like your past, how you came to this insight about the Web3, like crypto, the importance of it, why we need it, why you would like to build the community there. It's really cool, and it sounds so inspiring that I think some of the guys who are listening to us, probably they will also want to create something in this sphere after the stream. Yeah, so as I said, lots of our viewers today and just the subscribers of this community, they are just starting their, like paths in Web3, or maybe they are transitioning into this sphere from other spaces. So what kind of advice you have for them as for beginners who are looking to break into this Web3 space, crypto space?
Network. You need to, so for example, in this space, one of the key elements is compliance and regulation. That is it's huge for various reasons. And so if you're working in the space of compliance and regulation, then transitioning into the fintech, digital, because blockchain falls under fintech, financial technology as well. But of course, blockchain is bigger than just fintech. But we're going to need, or we're already looking at regulation around tokenization of real world assets. So if you have a property background, perhaps, then there is a route for you in this space, because you're going to see a lot of property businesses, they are going to be looking at blockchain and RWA, real world assets. But if you work in compliance and compliance and regulation, and you have an interest in property, then perhaps you could bring your skill sets in order to help with establishing what the regulations and compliance will be for that particular industry. So there's a way in. You need to look at what your skills are, what you love, and then look at the different industries. So it's research as well. I say network, but it's also research. And in addition to that, as you are researching, you need to look at who are the key players. And they don't even necessarily need to be the key players, but maybe there's someone who is in that particular space, that industry, who comes from the same country as you, and therefore you've got something that bonds you, that if you went to them, they may be more receptive to you simply because you come from the same town, or you come from the same country as them, or you went to the same university. So there's, I talked about networking, research, but also plan. There's a saying: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So be serious about this. And there are also, you may have to take some courses. This space is nascent, and there is a lot of startups. And then the startups with money, they're very particular about where they're going to spend their money and how they spend their money. And you have to be very careful and mindful that, one, as a startup, that company may run out of money, and therefore, yes, you might have a job with them today, but 3 months, 6 months, a year later, you might not have a job with them. They may even owe you money. So these are some of the things that you actually need to think about. How are you going to sustain yourself? Or they may want you to work for less than what you've been earning because they are a startup. And that's one of the things that you have to be mindful. But what I will say is that, yes, it's a nascent space. It's still growing. It's still finding its feet. The regulations, the compliance, and all that stuff is coming in. However, if you are here now, you have more, I would say, opportunity to reap the benefits of the space as it matures and when it matures. I've been in this space, as I said, for 5 years, and it's been tough. I love what I do. I love this space. I don't regret a day, but it is tough. It's tough getting sponsorship. It's tough getting the members. It's the paying members. It's tough growing the community. It's tough getting the community engaged. However, I do know I have touched many people's lives in this space, and that's what keeps me going. And the fact that I believe in this space, and I do, and I feel like as technology grows, particularly with the use of AI, blockchain is going to be very important. It's going to be intrinsic. It already is to the provenance of the data and the information. Where is it coming from? Where did the AI data sets come from? Where's the proof? Blockchain is going to be key to that, as well as other areas. And this is one of the reasons why I never focused on crypto, right? I focus on blockchain because blockchain is wide, but you do need to plan, and then you need to do your research, and then you need to network. And that's how you really build up your presence, and have a plan of action. And then, of course, just networking. Once, start writing posts, put your name out there. Personal branding is so key.
Thank you so much. Actually, what you just said made me also think that networking is a way of researching in Web3, because you can just talk to people. You can actually find like people from the same profession, from the same country, the same industry, talk to them. And in this way, you're also researching, is it the space for you? What are the pros and cons of it? And yeah, it's basically like the method of the research here. So I definitely.
For sure, I will say something. Be careful who you listen to, because just because someone's had a bad experience in the space doesn't mean that will be your experience. So it's always good to listen, but discernment is a key word here. Discernment,
Yes.
and knowing what it is that you want, because a lot of people do come into this space thinking it's going to be a get rich quick scheme. So their intentions could be very different from your intentions. Like if my intentions weren't on the bigger picture, i.e., I believe in this space, I want my voice, I want my who I am, what I represent as a woman, as a Black woman, as a Caribbean woman. I want my voice and what I think and feel to be part of the conversation. And so for me, it's a much bigger picture of how much money can I make from this space? What job can I get? It's about what value can I add that's going to benefit. This is key word. I'm not just saying I want my voice to be heard because I'm a Black woman. No, but there's how many, there's Black women across the world, and we're part of the world. We're part of society. Therefore, our voices should be heard. Our perspectives should be heard, and women's as well. So there's a bigger picture. What's your why? What's your why of being in this space or wanting to be in this space?
Yeah, it's definitely really important to sort out information in Web3 and understand and be careful with whom you're listening to, checking the background, the experience, if it is like really the person whom you would like to take as an example or not really. So moving on closer to let's say one of the most important things of our today's conversation about the Women in Blockchain talks. Could you please share with us how did you come up with the idea of this community, and even more importantly, what were the first steps? Because for me personally, I think as for others people as well, it's so difficult to start. Then it goes smoother, and especially if you are, inspired, excited about something, it goes smoothly. But it's difficult to start. And as you said, plan. It's also kind of difficult to create this plan. So how did you cope with this first initial stage of building your community?
Okay, great question. And what I will say is that, as I said, I was working in blockchain, and the company I was working for was a startup. They'd raised a lot of money via an ICO back in the days when it was quite easy to, not easy, but they didn't have so much compliance and regulation around raising an ICO. So they raised a lot of money. And what I found, and I have to say, they were very forward thinking. They did want more women, but what
Mhm.
happened is that just because you want it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's what are you doing to make it happen, right? So when I was at the company, I worked in an operations role, and I was the first female employee, even though they did have, I think it was one or two consultants, female consultants, freelancers, right? But I was their first employee, and there was like, I was like one woman to like 16 men, and then the two consultants, freelancers, and they weren't in the office. So I was like basically the only woman. So I was like, okay, what can we do about this? And so I put on an event, and it was called Blockchain, Bitcoin, and Babes, right? So I was
Mhm.
trying to use an alliteration, right, where you use like
Mhm.
the same letters. I
Yeah.
actually wanted, if I could have gotten away with it, it would have been blockchain, bitcoins, and bitching. Not that I think that women are female dogs, but the reason why I was trying to be fun with the title is because you need one of the key things you have to think about when you're starting anything is, of course, your audience, and you also need to think about, you know, my thought was I wanted to talk to people who weren't in fintech or weren't in necessarily in finance or technology. I wanted to talk to the everyday woman who is a professional woman, of course, who haven't thought about this space because they don't know about it, they haven't heard about it. And as the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know, right? So
Mhm.
this is one of the reasons why being open-minded is super important, right? You have to
Yeah.
be willing to ask the questions because you don't know what you don't know, right? And if you can take away one thing from this call, remember that you don't know what you don't know unless you're open to asking questions in order to learn, right? So with that being said, we called it Blockchain, Bitcoins, and Babes. And so loads
Mhm.
of women came to the event. And off the back of it, we got like, you know, 3, 4, 5 women who joined the business. So that was a great achievement within the job. So let's move on to Women in Blockchain Talks. Being an entrepreneur, one of the key things you need to be is resourceful and innovative, right? You need to think outside
Mhm.
of the box. There is no lines there's no HR, there's no boss. You are the boss, you are the HR, you are everything. So you need to think outside the box. So I have always been a big fan of meetup.com. If you want to start a community, that is the perfect place to start, meetup.com. Now, what you will find on meetup.com, you can start from scratch, right? Alternatively, what can happen is that sometimes you're in a community that you're supporting. Be a supporter. I think that's another key takeaway. Be a supporter. If you want to, if you want to build your own community, that's great. But be a supporter because you want people to support you. You be a
Yeah.
supporter to others as well,
Mhm.
right? And so anyway, so I was part of a group, and then, or I was just online, and then I saw this Women in Blockchain group. The leader had left, so they were like, we're looking for someone else to take over. So if you're part of that group and the head leader leaves, what happens is Meetup will say, who wants to take over this group? If no one takes over the group is going to shut down and everything's gone. It's just deleted, right? So at the time, I said to myself, well, let me just take it over, but I don't know what I want to do with it. And I left my job at that time. And so several months later, I saw that the person who must have owned it, they had set up meetups, right? And I
Mhm.
didn't realize. So I go into the group and I see there's this meetup happening like 2 weeks from the date that I was looking, and there were 70 people signed up. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? So I because I'd put on events before, I just found the space and I put the
Mhm.
event on, right? And the feedback was that was such an amazing event. It's the best event, and this was 5 years ago. And so they were like, this was the best event. It was so nice to have my voice heard and to not just be the only woman in the room, etc., etc. So I thought to myself, maybe there's something
Mhm.
here. So, cut a long story short, I decided to give it a go. So, the September, hence 5 years this month, I did the first official, because that event was just, oh my God, 70 people have
Mm-hmm.
signed up. Let me just do something. And I had no idea what I was doing. So it's okay if you don't know what you're doing. You can always ask for help, or if you have some skill sets, it's just about bringing people together ultimately and
Mm-hmm.
creating a safe space. So I did the first event in September, and then when I did, it was a huge success. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And I said, I'm going to be the Oprah of blockchain. And then when COVID hit, I basically pivoted online because I knew what to do. I knew how to do that. And then that allowed me to open up the brand globally rather than
Mm-hmm.
just UK based. And one of the things I will say, just to answer another point of your question about how do you get started, again, supporting others is great. But one of the things that we've done is we started a sort of ambassadorship and also global chapters. So we have global chapters in Barcelona, Berlin, Warsaw, in Manchester, of course,
Mm-hmm.
London, Tampa, UK, USA, sorry. So Tampa, Florida. So basically you can always become like an ambassador for the brand, but also start your own chapter so that you can start building up your own personal brand. And that way you don't have to start a brand totally from scratch.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. That's really cool journey. I really like how you started it. Um, from what you just mentioned, I also noticed that it's not the first time I hear something like, probably when I was starting, I didn't know where it is going. So maybe sometimes you will not have a real plan, like feasible, doable plan when you are just starting. And when you are just starting, you are delving deeper into this sphere or product or whatever, and then you're creating a plan moving forward with the strategy, etc., etc. So it's really important to make this first step somewhere, which is, for me, I think it's also the most scaring thing, because it's difficult to make this first
Exactly.
step.
It is difficult.
Okay. Okay, we talked a little bit about the past of women in blockchain talks. Let's talk about the present and the future of it. Right now, what is the core mission and core values of women in blockchain talks?
Sure. So the core values, and the core values is diversity. No, that's a lie. The underpinning essence of Women in Blockchain Talks is to promote blockchain technology. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for most people, they will never care about blockchain. Like, what is it? They just want to know whatever product or service they're working, if it utilizes it, that it works. That's what they're
Yeah.
going to care about, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I always say, and especially for um, underappreciated communities, right? So diverse communities, is that you don't always have to be a consumer of a product. You can also be the creator. And that's where the
Mm-hmm.
wealth creation comes in, right? So if you're working in the space, that's your way of adding value, of being
Mm-hmm.
a creator, right? So I'm not saying that everyone has to be an entrepreneur, not at all. It's to be an entrepreneur, to start your own business, to run your own community. It takes a level of intentional focus,
Mm-hmm.
focused intention, right? It's not for the weak of heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because there will be, I'll just be blunt, there will be times when you're like, how am I going to get through this month? How am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to this? How am I going to that? Because you don't have that structure, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
just the world of entrepreneurs and startups, right? So there's nothing to be ashamed of if you find yourself in that situation as a startup, founder, entrepreneur. It's part and parcel. Unless you've got, money behind you already,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what I will say is that even if you have money behind you, there are some challenges that you need to face that money can't buy. And also, if you have money, sometimes you're not as resourceful because your
Yep.
go-to is, well, I'll just pay for it. That should sort it. I'll throw money at it. When you don't have money, you have to think, how am I going to do this? And that builds on your skill sets, your resilience, your
Mhm.
ability to overcome. And it's powerful because when you look back on your life, you want to look at all of the different shades and all the different colors that you went through that helped you be the person that you are and help others to be who they needed to be because they saw what you went through. You was an
Yeah.
example for them,
Mhm.
right? So don't ever be ashamed of your failures or your failing forwards. Don't ever
Mhm.
be ashamed of your challenges because they help you to become who you are. And that could be in the vein of starting a business, running a business, looking for a job, changing your career. You have to be brave in life in order to have the things that you want, right? So hold on to your courage. That's one thing I will say. So, with regards to the values now, blockchain. I absolutely love blockchain technology. I love emerging tech. We are moving into Sam Altman. He just wrote a post a day or 2 days ago from OpenAI, and
Mhm.
he was just saying that we are moving, or we have moved into, the technology kind of era, right? And we are. That's what
Sure.
we are. So you have to embrace technology. And like I said, that value of blockchain and technology is about be the creator rather than just the consumer. So that's where I would say one of the key values is understanding it, embracing it, and not being afraid of the technology. Then the other thing that is key is diversity. I want to see more women leading from the front rather than
Mhm.
chasing from behind. Sorry, I
Mhm.
do, right? And this is important not just for women, but for men. You need to have that balance. There's no yin without the yang. And yes, of course, we've got in-betweens now of the genders, right? So everyone needs to be part of the conversation because we're part of the world, as I touched upon,
Mhm.
right? And also as a black woman, I want to see more color. I want to see more ethnicity, more cultural diversity and languages, all of that good stuff, right? So that's key. And then the other thing is education, right? So a number of people will say, oh, women in blockchain talks, well, it's just a community, it's promoting education. Let me
Mhm.
tell you something. The amount of times people can fail forward because they've listened to the wrong person, they're reading information that's not correct or that's out of date, or they're spending how much time looking for education and a good community. Whereas if they
Mhm.
just joined a community or just joined a membership, then they'd be able to just find all the information at their fingertips, saving them time, saving them money. So, don't close you. We need communities. We need grassroots organizations like Women in Blockchain Talks, um, that basically help to amplify the voices of the many rather than just of the few, of the few to the
Mhm.
many rather than just the voices of the many and the normal. And so, you asked values and then missions. So I would honestly say the last 5 years has been amazing for Women in Blockchain Talks. We've grown, we've added value. For me on a personal level, it's helped me grow, it's helped me hone
Mhm.
my skills. Um, but what I would say is that we have really targeted more Web 2 people. So Women in Blockchain Talks is educating about blockchain, but we don't, because I'm not technical, I don't
Mhm.
think it's congruent for me to focus on the technical. I've got
Mhm.
partners who can talk about that. But one of the things I want to do going forward, we want to go more into companies to offer training.
Mhm.
I think this is very important. So if you are working for a company, or if you have a startup company and you have budget, then bring me in. I'm happy to for us to do, like, it's a lunch and learn. So you and your staff or your employees will be able to just do a lunch and learn where we do a breakdown and introduction. So more training. So we've got the education, the community, the membership, we've got that, and the events, we've got that down. After 5 years, we've
Mhm.
got it down, right? So now we kind of want to be more bespoke, go into the companies.
Mm-hmm.
We also want to, talking of AI, we want to, because of the network I've built and the partnerships I've built, you know, if you're looking for research on women in automobiles, women in banking, women in whatever, come to us. We can do some research for you, right? Get that research, put it in your data sets, because everybody's starting to use AI, but we know that AI is biased. So where
Mm-hmm.
do you get the data from? Where do you source it from? Who can do that for you on a quick way? Women in Blockchain Talks can, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing. So we don't, so now that we've got this platform, now we've got this network, you know, I've got like 24,000 people following me on LinkedIn. We've got nearly 7,000 people following our Women in Blockchain Talks LinkedIn page. So, you know, we've got the contacts. So the question really is, how do we leverage it to add more value, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Because we've done that hard work now, right? So who can we help? And again, you know, we let's just be honest as well. It's an exchange, a value exchange. I can do that. We get paid, so it can be commercial, because it's important that we are commercial. You know, so that's one area, and I know that, you know, being crypto, working crypto, can understand that. And we're talking about work. No one
Mm-hmm.
works for free, right? Then
Yeah.
the other thing we want to do is that we will be tokenizing Women in Blockchain Talks, because we've got all of these
Mm-hmm.
different things now. And so the objective, you know, I have to say I'm a visionary, and I don't say that like say, oh, I'm a visionary. No, but I do think big, right? And so, for example, if you wanted a company wanted some data, what we're going to do is that we will then put together the focus group, and then the people who take the surveys that me and the company would have put together for the company,
Mm-hmm.
we would then the idea is that we would then pay them in tokens, Women in Blockchain Talks token. So it will be a
Mm-hmm.
utility token, but it will have an actual use case, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this way as well, those women or those individuals who'd be participants of the focus group, they would have to download a wallet. So that talks to
Mm-hmm.
our desire to bring more people and bring more women in particular into blockchain, because they have to download the wallet, but they're
Yeah.
getting paid. Do you see what I mean? So it's kind of like a nice ecosystem, and we're building on that ecosystem. And I think when we tokenize as well, that will make us more Web3, you know? So yeah, we've got some massive plans ahead. I'm writing a book. We also have our campaign, which is, you know, what is your blockchain avatar? Are you a career pivoting Charlie? Are you a skeptic Sam? Are you a newbie Naomi? So we still have that going on, just to help people to stick their big toe into the world of blockchain. So yeah, so that's where we're heading, and we just want to continue, like I said, to bring value and to be that place where people can learn, and not just learn but get direction, but in a safe, secure, and supportive way.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing these plans about what you're going into in the nearest future. It sounds really ambitious and really cool. To be honest, it really inspires me a lot. Your goals like that. But I wanted to ask you more precisely about the people who are inside of your community. What do you think for them to get, you know, more value, more benefits from it? What they can do inside the community, how they can get involved into it, get engaged into it to get even more value for themselves?
Well, I would say, you know, it's a two-way thing. People are responsible for themselves. You can
Mm-hmm.
provide the water, but you can't make the cow or the horse drink from it, right?
Yeah, sure.
So we have created the community. On a daily basis, we post information. We on a monthly basis we hold mini classes. We have the community, and unfortunately, you know, people. I get it. People are busy. Number one, particularly women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I say particularly women, it's just because it goes without saying that most women will be dealing with childcare, elder
Yeah.
care, all of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even so, the world is changing. We can't deny that. So what are you
Mm-hmm.
going to do in order to prepare yourself for that change? You know, even just being part of a community, engaging with the community, and this is where it goes back to that point of supporting the community, because I could tell you right now, if Women in Blockchain Talks weren't here, like just for whatever, let's just say hypothetically, something happened where we couldn't continue, I will tell you, I probably would get the most of my, oh, your community was amazing. I loved your community. I love your posts. I love what you're doing. But what are you doing to support it, even on the very lowest level, right? And
Mm-hmm.
engagement is what we need. Feedback is what we need. If we're not giving or delivering what you want to make you engage, let us know what you need and we can tell you if we can do it or not. But there's no point talking after the fact or talking, you know, telling me how great and what I'm doing if you're not willing to engage, right?
Sure.
So we have the community, and there's different ways of getting involved in the community. And one of the things I would say, and this is because I'm an entrepreneur as well, is you can utilize the community
Mm-hmm.
to brand yourself. So if you like writing, write for the blog, right?
Mm-hmm.
You maybe you're in a position to become a member. Maybe you have something that you want to promote. Use the community to talk about that, to share that. If you're looking for
Mm-hmm.
a job, talk about how you're looking for a job. What, you know, people will you have to put yourself out there for people to notice you, right?
Mm-hmm.
People will contact me and say, oh, Lavinia, can you help with A, B, C, and D? But I'm busy. I can help, but I am busy. But what is it that you're bringing to the table? Where's the exchange? It can't just be like,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I'm looking for. This is what I need. How can you help me? How can
Mm-hmm.
you know, think about how you can help as well. Um, so again, it goes back to personal branding, and this could be as an entrepreneur or be it as someone looking for work. Because, like I said, personal branding is across the board now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can write for a blog, you can engage in the community, you could become an ambassador, you could start a global chapter where you are to help you brand yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, if you are looking for work, you might, you know, if you're engaging in the community, you're like, Lavinia, I see this, you're connected to this person. Can you connect me? Can you do an introduction? I've seen you engaging in the community. So it's like, yeah, no problem, right? I know a little bit about you. I could do that. So, and it's the same thing with work in crypto. Engage. That, you know, sometimes there's questions that you ask. If you don't know, if you don't ask, you don't get, right?
Yeah.
So you might be looking, you might connect, you know, with Jasmine, and then you basically then go onto her LinkedIn, and then you see that she's connected to whoever, and then you send her a message, and they can see that you've been engaging in working
Mm-hmm.
crypto, you've been adding your thoughts. Well, that sort of thing, we're like, yeah, we're more than happy to help you, you know, because we see that you're serious, we see that you're consistent, we see that you're on it, and all of those things count, right?
Mm-hmm.
People can say what they are, but what's more important is them showing
Oh, yeah.
who they are.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for these thoughts. It's I think it's really important to mention that kind of only you are responsible for your own path, and nobody else except for you can do something for yourself, for your career, for your I know, building your own business, building your own community. So it's really important to take the responsibility and do something and get involved and participate. For example, I know that even on the example of our community, there are some subscribers who are actively engaging in all of the discussions. No, they're also ready to participate in the streams, to talk to us, to other people, which is, I think, is really cool in Web3 space. And what I wanted to discuss at the final stage of our conversation is just to compare why do you think this networking, this involvement in communities, talking to other people is so important in Web3 space compared to other industries? Of course, I still believe that it's crucial for every place in the world, for every person, but why it is so discussed here in Web3?
I think the reason being is Web3, blockchain, Bitcoin, crypto, it was kind of on the fringes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when something is on the fringes, what happens is that people need to congregate to be
Yeah.
able to talk, to share. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what's happened off the back of this is that on a commercial level, people have also seen that if I can build a community and I build that like and that trust, and you make people feel like they are part of the construction
Mm-hmm.
of what is being created, yes,
Mm-hmm.
they're more willing to buy because
Yeah.
it feels like I'm not just being sold to. I'm not just an audience. We're a community. Therefore, the community is supposed to benefit everyone, not just one person, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if it's my products, my idea, I've put in the time and effort to, put all of the structures and procedures and all the rest of it in place. And of course, I'm going to benefit more from it, right? But it makes people feel like you're bringing them in with you, right? That
Mm-hmm.
you know them. And I think what technology is doing, and definitely what Web3 has done, it's just made it the proximity between the founder and the audience has become
Mm-hmm.
closer, which is where the community is. Um, I think also it was just communities are a place for people to connect and relate and to share,
Mm-hmm.
And then the other key thing is that because this technology is moving so quickly, we as human beings, we still need to have that human contact, that human
Mm-hmm.
interaction. It's important. Um, and I think there's a lot of work to be done in the Web3 space. And there's lots of people who want to be part of the solution. Maybe they don't know how, but they want to be part of the solution. Therefore, you
Mm-hmm.
need to talk about it. Everything starts from a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Even if you have an idea, you need to share it with someone before it can be created. That is
Mm-hmm.
a human element. You don't just talk to the computer, hey, computer, can you just create me a website? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
website, what do you think of the website? No, you're going to go
Mm-hmm.
to your mom or your girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever, and then you're going to be like, hey, what do you think of the website? What's your feedback?
Mm-hmm.
So we still need that human interaction. When a child is born, they need that touch, that
Mm-hmm.
human touch. We can't get away from that desire to speak, communicate, connect with other humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why it's so important in this space, because with the tech moving so quickly, and we are talking about technology, we still need that human piece. And that human piece is extremely important in order for ethical AI, ethical technology. It's
Mm-hmm.
very important. But then the other element is the commercial element, is that community feeling of I belong, but also
Mm-hmm.
the commercial element of I build a community and it's easier to get that feedback,
Yeah.
quicker pivoting because you've got the community right there. Um, so that's why I think the community piece is a lot more important in the Web3 space than it has been in other in
Mm-hmm.
the past and in other
Mm-hmm.
industries.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you so much for sharing this, for sharing your position regarding that. That's with your experience, especially. It's really valuable and interesting to know it. I see that we have a few questions, so let's jump into them, and maybe then you will also say a few final words. So, as for the questions, the first one, could you please share some tips to pass the shy phase, and what would you recommend to do? I think, yeah, it's actually a common question about this shy phase when you're just starting, and it's difficult to make this first step because you're shy, you don't know how it's there, what to do, what to say.
Hmm. So what I would say is that you need to have a why. Your why has got to be bigger than your feeling of being shy, and that will
Mm-hmm.
help incentivize you to do the following. So the physical element is one thing, is you need to stand in front of the mirror and you need to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the scenarios, because one of the key reasons why people are shy is because they think, what do I look like? What do I sound like? Do I look
Yeah.
foolish? So you need to get accustomed to seeing yourself being the person that you want to be, i.e., and it's not about being confident, it's just about doing it, right? If
Mm-hmm.
someone held a gun to your head, you do it, you'd be able to do it, right? So it's not a case of that you're incapable of doing it, there's just a fear. And that
Mm-hmm.
talks to feel the fear and do it anyway, right? You've got to start from somewhere. So make today be that day. If people laugh at you, it's F you. If people criticize you, it's an F you. You have got
Mm-hmm.
to learn to love yourself, you know, the good bits, the bad bits, all of the bits, right? I look at
Mm-hmm.
myself sometimes and I'm just like, ugh. And then there's other times I'm like, okay, you know, we all have our moments, but you've
Yes.
got to hold on to the fact that even if I'm, or if I'm still me. You have to live
Yeah.
with yourself every day. You have to see yourself. You have to
Mm-hmm.
live with yourself. So you need to find ways to embrace and in love who you are, good, bad, indifferent, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that means standing in front of the mirror, even if it's just in your underwear, naked if you want, and
Mm-hmm.
talk to yourself. You know, get familiar with how you look or how you speak or how you sound, even because some people are like, oh my God, I hate the sound of my voice. Oh, oh, oh.
Yes.
You know, some people are like that. And it's because you're not accustomed to it, or
Mm-hmm.
you have an idea in your mind of how you should sound. But who
Mm-hmm.
actually said you should sound like that, right? One of the things that what we need to, social media has kind of screwed us over on this. There's a sort of ideology or certain sort of look that people perceive you have to have in order to be beautiful, to be accepted. But
Yeah.
what I find is, why do you want to look like everybody else? Be you. You have to embrace what makes you unique, what makes you
Mm-hmm.
stand out from the crowd. And so you might have a high voice, or you might speak with an accent, or you might not have perfect English. It's okay, because
Mm-hmm.
practice makes perfect. You just got to start. So look in the mirror. First of all, have a why that's bigger than you. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Practice speaking to yourself, posing, asking questions in front of the mirror. And then the other thing is that, and this has worked for me in the past. I don't necessarily do it now. Sometimes I still need to pull on it. Is you maybe have a kind of like a persona, like Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Beyonce is Beyonce, but then she has Sasha Fierce, and she's got an album I think called Sasha Fierce as well. And Sasha Fierce is her alter ego, like Clark Kent had Superman. What's your alter ego, right? And then the other thing that I think is more important is, right now you might not feel it if you're beginning at the beginning, and this touches on the why, but it's like, when I go out and speak, I remember I this is years ago now because I've been speaking for a long time, and I said to myself, the information I have, it's important that I share it with the people in the audience, because it's not about me,
Mm-hmm.
because that means you're doing it from an ego point of view. Oh, everyone's looking at me. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, how's people perceiving me? No, they don't care about you. They care about the information you're giving them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know your information is valuable, don't make it about you, make it about them. And that goes back
Mm-hmm.
to a point I said right at the beginning about the ego versus
Mm-hmm.
servant leadership. I am a
Yeah.
servant to this information. I am a servant to my community. I am a servant to my audience. And it is important that this information that I know, that I feel will help them, that I deliver it to them in the best way possible. So it's not about me, it's about
Mm-hmm.
them. And that can help you. It's a
Perfect.
paradigm shift.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this answer. One more question. Thank you for this stream. Very insightful. My question: what are the main events for women in Web3 topic in the world that worth visiting? And also another one: what are your main tips to boost personal professional brand?
So the last question again.
The last one: what are your main tips to boost personal professional brand?
Brand. Okay, so let me start with that one then. So the
Mm-hmm.
main tips is to write blogs. I mean, LinkedIn is a great platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
So post. If you can post weekly to then daily, You know, start putting your voice out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do a picture to go with your blog post. I mean, your social media post. Be a if you like writing, write for a platform like Women in Blockchain Talks if you have something to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then do podcasts. All of these things will help with your personal branding. You need to know before you go out there, you need to know why you're doing it. The why is always important in everything that you do. And
Mm-hmm.
what is the brand that you want to have out there? What is it that you want people to know that you stand for? You know, I tell you this, right? So I'm a super nice person, if I do say so myself.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of people who find me tough, who find me like I've had people say to me, and I don't take it personally, even though it can be a bit hurtful. You're scary. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I've been told. You're scary. You're really tough. What does that mean? Does it mean that I'm unkind? I speak badly to people? No. I just have an aura of I don't take BS. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't like try and waste my time, but you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna know, right? You're gonna know about it because I'm forthright. I'm not rude, but I'm forthright. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
mind speaking my mind. And I'm not scared of what people think about me. Do I care what they think about me? Of course I do. I have feelings. I'm super, super sensitive. But that doesn't mean I'm going to allow that my sensitivity to allow you to take advantage of me or cross my boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even though I don't like people saying that I'm tough, a part of my personal brand is that people know I'm formidable, that I get
Mm-hmm.
shit done, I do what I say, right? I put myself out there, but I'm not going to take BS. So if you step to me, you better step to me correctly. And if you don't, you will find out, right? And I don't need to be rude about it, but you will know.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a part of my personal brand, good or bad, right? Whoever wants to see it. So you need to know what is it that you stand for. People also know that I stand for diversity. They also know that I stand for women, women leadership. They also know that I stand for, emerging technology. So
Mm-hmm.
what is it that you stand for? So when you talk about your personal brand, you need to know what your values are and what you want people to know you for, right? And it's not just about the industry and your subject matter, but how you present yourself, who you're speaking for as well, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about fairness. It's not just about women. I want everyone to be treated fairly. But unfortunately, in this world, most times women are not. And as a woman, I can
Mm-hmm.
relate. Those who know it feel it. So that's my answer to the personal brand. And I don't know if those were tips, but I think it's food for thought more so than anything, right?
Yeah.
Think about what you want your brand to stand for. And then what was the question before?
The question before was about the events for women in Web3 topic all over the world that you
So,
think are worth visiting.
well, I don't know all of the events, so it would be unfair for me to say which ones are worth visiting or not. I will say to you the things that I have heard are good. There's She-Fi out there. You've got World of Women.
Mm-hmm.
And what I will say to you is that if you're looking for events that are women orientated, because I know there's some women who just want to go to women events, and that's fair enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just make sure when you're going that there's actually substance there. I'm not into the whole let's sit around and complain about how the world is treating us, or how there's not enough women leading. Let me go to somewhere where people are actually talking about what they're doing to
Mm-hmm.
overcome it. You know,
To
in your
change this.
mindset,
Yes.
yeah, to change it. And not just talking about changing it, but what are they actually doing,
Mm-hmm.
right? How are they executing what they're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
How are they walking the talk? Please, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't waste my time with just like we know what the problems are. Let's talk about the solutions and how we're executing on those solutions. So, and also don't close. There's a lot of male allies out there, and I will say in regards to male allyship, it's becoming a very topical subject. So be careful of those who talk about it but don't actually really do anything standing behind
Mm-hmm.
it. And I'm talking about the men, right? You will know who is talking about it, the way they put themselves out there, the way that they show up for women, because again, the subjects that we talk about is relevant to everyone because we're all part of the world, right? So to
Mm-hmm.
go back to what I will say is go on to meetup.com, go on to eventbrite.com, go on to Luma, and then say Web3 women and see what comes up. And then it's just a question of going out, attending them, or going onto their website, seeing what the reviews are. Look at how often they are, how consistent
Mm-hmm.
and frequent they are. Even if they're doing it on a quarterly basis, that's okay because people are busy, people have got to work. But are they being consistent? That is what you look at. Follow people who are consistent.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's a really important tip, I think. Guys, I also see some questions about comments about getting a job. Regarding that, you can definitely write us in the comments for any other posts connected with the job search process. And also definitely check out our jobs board platform. You can find lots of vacancies there. And I think the last one relevant to our guest question is, given that Web3 is a fast evolving industry, how do you think someone can stand out and be truly revolutionary in this space? Could adopting a more human approach be the key to success? If you just have like 1-2 minutes, maybe we can finish with this more general question today.
Okay. So I'm starting a new business, and this business is called Unbiased-Fi. Unbiased-Fi AI. And Unbiased-Fi is based on the last 5 years. Like, if I hadn't have done the 5 years, I would
Mm-hmm.
not be able to start this business because it's a part of my journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Unbiased-Fi, you break it down on bias, right? And so we know AI is taking over the world. Everybody wants to start an AI business, and they want to employ AI agents into their business. And in the EU, the EU AI Act just came into power, was enacted on the 1st of August. And this basically
Mm-hmm.
means if you don't understand your data sets and the information it's putting out, if it's biased in any way, if it touches and that bias touches on prohibited practices, so if it's racist, sexist, ableism, all the rest of it, you will be fined. And it won't matter if you are a startup or not. You will
Yeah.
just be fined, right? You have to be responsible for the data sets that you have. You need to know what it's going to produce ultimately, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I know that bias is a big issue. And so Unbiased-Fi AI is a product where we will do governance over your data to see how unbiased it is and if there's areas that you need to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, we will also create through Women in Blockchain Talks. Yeah. So Women in Blockchain Talks will do that
Mm-hmm.
job to create bias. So I say all of this because I didn't have this idea 5 years ago. I didn't have it 2 years ago, 3 years, or 4 years ago. I have it now. I had it in the last year, and I'm now executing on it now. So to answer your question, how you stand out is by being open to receive information. You might have an idea, but you just don't know. It's just not formed yet. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a baby is conceived day one. It takes 9 months for it to be birthed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes some parents don't even know if it's a boy, if it's a girl. If it's a mixed race child, they don't know if it's going to be this tone color, that tone color, how straight, how curly. You don't know, right?
Yes.
Until the time comes. And so if your heart and your spirit and your value is to make sure that in this technological world that is evolving and growing, that you want to have a more human sense and that you want to create something that adds more humanness to the whole
Mm-hmm.
space, then the idea will come to you at a point when it comes, right? But you've got to have that
Mm-hmm.
desire in you already. It's not going to be, and this is a thing that I really want to leave with everybody. Your journey is your journey. Your ideas and your visions and your ability to execute is on you. Anybody can have the same ideas, but how they execute it will be different from how you do it. And that may be based because you have the money, you have the resources, or you don't have the money, but you have the connections, you have the network, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So the only thing you can do is just be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, and if, like I said, know what your values are, because if you want to add value to the world, then you will, based on who you are, because that is
Mm-hmm.
who you are.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this inspiring and I think really motivational conversation that we had today. I really hope that it was also inspiring for other viewers of our stream, because for me it was definitely. I feel so overawed with all of the ideas and tips you gave us. I really want to implement them even in my own life. So thank you so much for this talk. Guys, if you have any other questions, feel free to write them in the chat. We'll try to answer them in a written format after the stream. And yeah, we share the links to the community which Lavinia owns, and some other links. So feel free to connect with Lavinia, with us, and we are all here to network and to get something valuable from each other. So let's do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Much appreciation. And everyone, take care and believe in yourself. Do the do. All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Have a cool day.
Bye.
Bye.